Beginners, welcome to my YouTube channel. How you guys doing? In today's video, we are going to be learning how to cut and sew a waistcoat. You can use this to start your ready-to-wear business, which is perfect because it's so easy to do. And I'll be showing you how to snatch the waist like mine. With that being said, let's get started. So you're going to be needing your drafting materials and a yard of any fabric of your choice. The first thing to do is on your drafting material, which is your pattern paper, you're going to draw out a straight line from the top of the paper, and that will be your top line. So place your measuring tape on your shoulder, and from the shoulder measure to your bust point, and that will be your bust line. And then 2 inches above your bust line is your chest line. So also you're going to measure your under bust line and your waistline, that is the front waistline measurement, and the hip line is 23 for mine. I'll do the same thing on the other side of the pattern paper as well, and I'll draw a straight line connecting it like this. Then from here I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement. So my shoulder is 14, half of it is 7 plus half an inch for sewing allowance, because it's a sleeveless dress. That's 7.5. So I'm going to do the same thing, mark the 7.5 on the chest line as well, and from the top line I'll come down by 1 inch from that shoulder measurement, and with my straight rule I'll connect it to the chest line like this. Then from here I'm going to mark my neck width measurement. So I'm using 2.75 for mine. If you want to get your neck width measurement, just divide your bust measurement by 12, then you'll get your neck width measurement. So connect it to that 1 inch point. And then from here I'll go down by 3 inches for my neck depth. That is how low I want the neckline to be. I'm using the exact measurement of my neck, okay? And from here I'm going to be dividing my bust by 4, and I'll mark it on the chest line. I will also divide this line from here to here. I'll divide it by 2 as well, and I'll go in by half an inch from that point. And with my front curve, I'm going to connect from the shoulder all the way through the half an inch point to the chest line like this. And then from this point I'm going to mark my bust span measurement. So my bust span is 7 inches. Dividing it by 2, that is 3.5. So I'll mark it from the bust line all the way to the hip line, drawing a straight line like this. Then from here I'm going to go down by 1 inch, while on the under bust line I'm going to mark 0.75 inch on both sides, and that will be the dart that I'll be using. So the total dart I'm using for this dress is 0.75 inch, both on the under bust line, the waistline, and on the hip line. So just mark 0.75 inch on all sides and connect it, drawing a straight line like this. So from here I'm going to use my front curve, and I'll connect it to this 1 inch point like this, and this will be the under bust tightening. So for the princess dart, I'm going to use the most curvy part of my front curve, and I'll connect it to the armhole like this, drawing the princess dart. From this princess line I'm going to take a dart of half an inch on both sides, and I'll connect it to the bust point like this. So after I'm done with this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, from here to here is 1 inch. That is the total that I used, there is 1 inch. So I'm going to replace that 1 inch on the chest line, just where the bust line stops. I'll just add the 1 inch extra. So after this, I'm going to take the measurement from here, that is the center front. I will measure all the way to the under bust like this, and what I got is 10.5. And I'll take the measurement on the other side from the armhole all the way to the under bust line, and what I got is 9.75. So if you leave it like this, definitely the center front is going to be longer. So we are going to extend the side front by extra 0.75, because the center front is longer by 0.75. Okay, so when I extend it, I'm going to connect it to the new chest line measurements that we have there, right there, to that 1 inch extra points that we marked out. So with this, we have the new armhole for this princess dart, while we are going to be maintaining this other armhole like this. So after that, I'm going to be taking my waist measurement, divide it by 4. I'll mark it, and then I'll replace the 1.5 that's right there. I'll also take my hip measurements, I'll divide it by 4, and I'll mark it, and I'll replace the 1.5 inch that we have here. My paper is not enough, but just replace it by 1.5 inch. And then now you're just going to connect it from the chest line to the waistline, and then to the hip line like this. So the hip line, you're going to curve it a little bit. My front waistline is 16.5, like I said earlier, while that of my back waistline is 15 inches. So 16.5 minus 15 is 1.5. So the front is longer than the back. From the bust line, I'll go down by 1.5, which is the SS, and I'll connect it to the bust point like this. So this will be the bust that we have, and then this one will be removing it, and we'll be removing the waist dart as well. So from here, I'm going to slash through that bust line all the way to the bust point, and from the waistline, the hip line, I will slash all the way to the bust point like this. So now I'm going to be closing the bust dart like this, and if you notice, the line is no longer straight. That is the line connecting the chest line to the waistline. So I'm just going to straighten it up like this. Then after that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to remove the darts that we have. That is to cut everything out. So just pay attention to the lines that I followed while cutting. So with this, we have the princess dart pattern. So in order to recreate exactly what we have, I'm just going to join the center front to the side fronts. So from the under bust line, I'm going to join it like that, making sure they are not overlapping each other from that under bust line. And I'll connect it all the way to the hip line. So since this is a straight line, everything is going to align. So from the waistline, go down by 1 inch or 1.5 or 2 inch, depending on how low you want it to be. So from this point, I'm going to connect it all the way to the bust span measurements. That is exactly where the center front aligns with the side fronts. Okay. Then from here, I'm going to go down by 3 inches from the waistline. And with my French curve, I'm going to connect it like this during the curve that we have here. And then now I'm just going to cut it out, and this is what we have. So after you're done cutting, you can remove it and separate it, and we have this. So now you're just going to place this on your fabric and you cut. But before that, let's draft out the back pattern. So for the back pattern, I've drawn out the chest line measurement, which is 8 inches. And for the back, we don't need the bust line measurement. We just need the chest and the waistline. So the waistline, like I said earlier, is 15. That is my back waistline measurement, is 15 inches. While my hip line remains 23 inches. So I will mark my chest line, my back waistline measurements, and my hip line, which is 23 inches. On the top line, I'm going to divide my shoulder by 2 and add half an inch for sewing allowance. I'll do the same thing on the chest line as well, that is 7.5 inches. Then from here, I'll go down by 1 inch, and I'll draw a straight line to the chest line like this. Then after that, I'm going to mark my neck depth of 2.75 inches, and I'll go down by 1.5 from here, and I'll connect it using my French curve like this. And then from here, I'm going to connect it to the 1 inch point. From here, I will mark half of my quarter of my bust measurements. I'll mark it there, and then right here, I'll divide this line by 2. So for the front, we're not going to go in by half an inch. Just divide the line by 2 and use your French curve to connect it all the way to the chest line like this. From here, I'm going to divide my bust span by 2, which is 3.5, and I'll mark it on the chest line, the waistline, and on the hip line. And then I'll be using a dart of 0.5 inch on both sides. From this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and with my straight rule, I'm just going to connect it. Please ignore these new lines that are here. Just connect it to 1 inch below the chest line, connect it to the half an inch on both sides. So draw it like this. Ignore these lines that I drew out. And then from this point, use your French curve and connect it to the armhole area. That is exactly at that midpoint of the armhole. Connect it to the dart line like this. And then here I'm going to divide my waist by 4, and I'll add 1 inch, which is the dart that we used. And I'll divide my hip by 4, and I'll add 1 inch for the darts that we are using. So from here I'm going to mark 0.5 inch on both sides, and I'll connect it to the waistline like this, drawing a straight line. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out like this, and I'll cut this part out as well. So just make sure that place is smooth, and then you cut it out as well like this. So now, just like what we did for the front, I'm going to do the same thing for the back. I'll tape the waistline and the hip line together, and then from here I'm going to go down by 3 inches, just like we did for the front. And for the back, I'm just going to connect it to about 5 inch or 4 inches away from the waistline like this. So with this we have drawn the curve, and then you just cut it out. So after you are done with this, just remove the tape from it, and you're going to place this on the pattern paper, and you're going to cut it on fold. So after you're done, at this point I've placed my pattern paper on the fabric and I've cut. So I added half an inch on the center front. I did not add any allowance to the armhole. And then for this side you can add 1 inch or 1.5. I use just half an inch because I'm quite sure of my body measurements. And then while this side I use half an inch. Then this side I use 1 inch. I use half an inch down here, half an inch for the dart lines, no allowance for the armhole, and then half an inch for the shoulder and the neckline. So when you're done, you're just going to remove this from it, and by the time you open it up, this is what we have. So now I'm just going to be joining the center front to the side front at the dart area. Use your half an inch sewing allowance and join it from the down all the way up. And then for the back, this is what we have. So make sure you cut the back on fold, and then you add half an inch all round, but no allowance for the armhole. Add half an inch all round, no allowance for the armhole. You can use 1 inch here, and then half an inch down there. So by the time you're done joining, this is what we have right here. So for the center fronts, okay, just basically the way you join your darts is the same thing you're going to do here. So at this point I decided to use a V neckline. Like I said earlier, I wanted a V neckline, so I just decided to change this neckline to a V neckline. But you can skip this part if you don't want a V neckline. Okay, so from here to here is 4 inches below the normal waist, the normal neckline. So I just cut it, drawing a straight line. I'll do the same thing for the lining as well, and I'll cut it out as well. So after I'm done, this is what the front looks like by the time you open it up. As you can see, the V neckline is already formed. And then now I'm just going to be placing the lining on it, and I'll be sewing the neckline first. I'll sew half an inch, turn it to the right side, understitch it, turn it to the wrong side again, and sew the remaining parts. So from the center front all the way to the hemline. I'll do the same thing on the other side as well. So for the back, this is what we have. I mistakenly cut this, like I did not cut this on fold, so I had to join it back again. So this is the reason why you need to cut it on fold. Okay, but I've joined the center back to the side back. So now I'm just going to be joining the lining to the fabric at the neckline, and you also join it at the hemline. So you, just the way you join your fabric to your lining, you use half an inch, turn it to the right side and understitch it, and then you do the same thing for the hemline as well. So by the time you're done, turn it to the right side. This is what we have. So make sure you iron as you go. So at this point I've sewn the neckline, I've sewn this side, and I've sewn all the way to the hemline. So I'll just turn it to the right side, and this is what we have right here. So this is the front, and the down one is the back. So I'll be joining the front to the back at the shoulder. So I'll just open it up, and I'll join fabric to fabric, lining to lining, and I'll make sure I align it, everything is well placed. So after sewing, this is what we have. So I'll just turn this to the wrong side, and now I'll be joining the armhole of the lining to the fabric. So turn everything to the wrong side, and then you sew like this. Then when you are done sewing, please make sure you notch it so that you can easily turn it to the right side and it to be relaxed. So when you're done, you just turn everything to the right side. Make sure you iron as you go. Then at this point, I'm just going to be joining the front to the back at the side seam. So the secret to that snatched waist is to add a belt at the waistline. So this is completely optional. You can leave this, but I decided to add a belt to mine, and I joined the back to the front at the side seam using the allowance that I left. After joining it, you can go ahead and add your buttons to this, create your buttonhole, and we are basically done for today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching.